All right. Retirement planning at 60, the biggest expense that you are going to face in retirement. What do you need to do? The biggest expense that you're going to face in retirement. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Your Financial EKG YouTube channel. I want to show you a retirement strategy for a 60-year-old and a 55-year-old. They're a couple. They've got about $1.5 million saved for retirement. And we're going to look at how the biggest expense in retirement can derail their retirement income plan. Hey, thank you so much for coming to the live stream. My name is Drew Blackston. I am your virtual financial advisor, helping you get to retirement, helping you get through retirement, and protecting your ability to stay in retirement. And we're talking about the biggest expense that you're going to face in retirement. Let me show you what the biggest expense you're going to face in retirement is. Let me get to that tab right here. Perfect. This is the biggest expense you're going to face in retirement. $3,000 a week. This is a recent Barron's article from February 3rd of 2023. $3,000 a week. The enormous cost of care for elderly loved ones that nobody warns you about. Well, I'm going to warn you about it today because we're talking about, and we're going to go through a strategy. I'm going to go through the exact strategy on how we helped a couple concerned about long-term care, not with insurance, concerned about what their care is going to be, the biggest expense. We're going to go through that here in just a second, and I'll show you. We're going to use that scenario. But let's go back to the article. $3,000 a week, the enormous cost of care that no one wants to talk about. Let's look at this real quick. What is care? Well, if you think about long-term care, there's lots of estimates out there. We're going to get an exact cost of care. I'm going to show you how you can get an exact cost of care for you in just a second. But let's look at the article for a minute. There are lots of estimates out there for what caregiving costs American families on average, but it's variable based on location, level of care. And I'm going to show you that. We're going to go through different states, and I'm going to show you different levels of care. But a nursing home typically runs $7,800 a month, and assisted living is $4,500 a month, according to Genworth. We're actually going to use Genworth here in just a second to show what costs of care would be. In-home care averages about $27 an hour. But that doesn't really give much of a sense of what it will actually cost. Now, what I run into is a lot of times when I talk about care with individuals, when we're doing our visits together, we will sit down, we'll do a Zoom call together, we'll do a phone call, and I'm asking all these questions, and I might say, hey, John, what do you want to do in retirement? What are your goals? What do you want your money to achieve for you? And he's like, hey, I want to travel. I want to, see my grandkids. I want to RV. I want to do this, that, or the other. Here in Florida, a lot of people say, I want to go to the beach. I want to go to Disney. I want to watch baseball games. And then I get down to my sheet because I have notes as I ask people, and I kind of go through these notes, and I say, well, let me ask you a quick question, John. What are you going to do for you and Cindy for long-term care? Like, what's your plan? Because I need to put that in the financial EKG. Like, if we're going to look at your retirement income plan, if we're going to look at your retirement investments, what's your plan for long-term care? How are you going to pay $7,800 a month for Cindy if she gets dementia? What about if she has Parkinson's or cancer? How are we going to pay for that? And a lot of times I get either two things. Either people shut down, like they go, okay, we're not going to talk about this. I was really excited to talk about retiring at 55 and living out my days, enjoying it. But now we got to talk about this. The second thing is most people say is, well, Medicare will take care of it. And I'll say, well, wait a sec. Let's look at that for a minute because it's actually in this article, which is great. Many people think that Medicare covers these expenses, but that's a misunderstanding. Medicare only covers limited stays in nursing facilities for acute needs. It does not cover full-time care, only visiting nursing services like wound care. If you qualify for Medicaid because of low income and assets, that will cover in-home care and nursing home stays, but only at certain facilities and subject to availability. I want you to hone in on that line real quick, but only at certain facilities and subject to availability. A lot of times clients say, well, I'm going to let the government take care of me. I'm going to let the state take care of me when I get there. And I'll say, well, only at certain facilities and subject to availability. Is that what you want? Do you want the government to say you can go to this facility, but you can't go to that facility? Or this one's available, but this one's not. We can't put you in there yet because these aren't available. So that's why we want to have a plan. And today's not going to be a Debbie Downer live stream. I promise. We're going to get into a financial plan. But if we're going to talk about retiring at 55, if we're going to get excited about it, if we're going to high five and chest bump and be so pumped up about retirement, we got to talk about the back end, which is how are we going to pay for care? Because 2 out of 3 individuals, 2 out of 3 will need some sort of long-term care. Most of the time, it's what we call informal care. So my uncle, he took care of my aunt. My aunt had Parkinson's. She had Parkinson's for like 5 years. So for 5 years, he took care of her. And that was called informal care. Now, what informal care means is a husband takes care of a wife takes care of a husband. A spouse takes care of a spouse. A partner takes care of a partner. A child takes care of a mom or a dad. I've got many clients today that are in the sandwich generation. I literally just talked to someone last week. Their mom lives with them. They're asking, can they retire? But they're also taking care of their kids. So they got to take care of mom and they got to take care of kids. And so we've got this conundrum. How are we going to pay for this? Because healthcare is rising at about a 9% clip a year from inflation. Now, inflation's at 3.27% on the 108-year average, but it's running at 9% for healthcare. How are we going to pay for this? And so that's why we want to understand, what does my Medicare cover? Like, what does my Advantage plan cover? If you're on Medicare, what's it cover? And what does it not cover? And how do we have a plan for that coverage? Here's a good one to look at. This is the cost of care per state. You can go to this website. It's under Genworth. Just type in Genworth cost of care in Google, and you'll probably find this. Put in your state. Let's look at a couple different states here. I got some listed. Let's go to Texas first. So let's do Texas. A lot of Texas people for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I sound like I'm from Texas. A lot of people from Texas call me. And let's say you're 60 today. Now, this was done in 2021, so it's a little older. But let's say you're 60 today. You're going to retire, and at 80, you're going to need care. That's when most people need care. So let's go to 2041. And let me show you this. State of Texas. Now, what you can do is you can break it down per your zip code. But I'm just going to look at the entire state for a second. Again, it's Genworth. All you got to do is Google Genworth cost of care, and you can pull this up. But 2021 costs versus 2041 costs. In-home care. Homemaker services today, $4,500. 2041, $8,265. Community and assisted living, $769 adult daycare, $1,389 in 2041. Assisted living, $4,000. $7,200 in 2020 or in 2041. Nursing home, semi-private room, $5,100 a day monthly. Those are monthly costs. The 2041 cost, $9,256. Private room, $7,092, $12,000 in 2041. And I'm going to show you in an EKG, in a financial EKG, how this can affect someone's retirement income plan. But we really want to be cognizant of this. And I've noticed I've had a lot of people come and go off the live stream rather quickly, because when I talk about long-term care, when I talk about assisted living, when I talk about things that are uncomfortable, we lose a lot of people because no one wants to address this. But we've got to look at it in the mirror. We've got to face it head on and say, what are we going to do about this? Because we're going to do all the other fun stuff, but sometimes we got to talk about the nitty-gritty, because that's really going to affect you later in life. And I don't care if you are 50, 60 years old today, maybe you're 30 and 40. Listen, I'm 37 years old. My wife's 33. And we've already thought about, what are we going to do? How are we going to plan for this for ourselves? Because I don't want my 3 kids taking care of me. My dad, he's an advisor for 50 years. And my dad's from Mississippi, so he can say things and get away with it a little bit better than I can. But he would always tell people, he'd say, hey, you got 3 kids. Do you want them to change your diaper or to give you a bath one day? Whew. Now, I can't say that. I'm not old enough. I don't have enough gray in my hair to say that. But that puts the point. That drives the point home, which is why we want to plan. And we're going to get into that in just a second in the EKG. So let's go through a couple different states. Listen, put in the comments, what state do you want to look at? We're going to looked at Texas. Got a lot of people from Texas that call me, so I like to look at Texas. Let's look at California. A lot of people from California call me. I definitely don't sound like I'm from California, so I don't know why. I get a lot of Cali, which is cool. We got some family out in San Diego. So let's look at this. 2021 versus 2041. Homemaker services. This is like in-home care, 6,100 versus 11,000. Monthly cost, okay? Home health aid, same thing. Here's the nursing home, 9,700 today versus 17,000 in 2041 monthly. That's a semi-private room. That means you're sharing a room with somebody. In a private room, $12,000 today versus $21,000, almost $22,000 in the future. Isn't that crazy? I think that's why 500,000 people have left the state of California recently. That and taxes, right? But we've got to think about this. This is California. What's the cost of care going to be? We need to have that in our plan. And let's look at one more state. My home state at this point, Florida. Actually, let's go zip code wise. Let's go Tampa, Florida. Let's look at Tampa. So right now, monthly median care cost, $4,700 versus $8,600 in 2041. Nursing home, $8,900 for a semi-private room versus $16,000, and $9,800 versus $17,800 for a 2041 private room. Not so bad. Not as bad as California, but it's pretty bad. And it's costly. And that's why we want to have a plan. Now, here's Ray's question. You might be heading this way, but should one invest in long-term care insurance? If so, at what age? I kind of waver with just rolling the dice later in life. Going to the casino, the Hard Rock, right? Red or black? Shoo. Which way were you going to put it on, Ray? Here's my thing, Ray. I am not a big believer in long-term care insurance. The reason I don't like long-term care insurance, it's expensive. Like, it's expensive. It's kind of like home like house insurance. Like, you pay for it. You hope you never use it. And then at the end, like if you move or you get a new home or if you never use it, you just lose that money. That's kind of like long-term care insurance. What we've done for a lot of clients is what I'm going to get into here in just a second, where you can use money to help protect against long-term care. But then if you never use it, there is a benefit for that. Okay. So there is a benefit. The long-term care insurance is expensive. So we want to make sure that we have a plan to not just throw our money away. Great question, Ray. Really, really, really good question. I can't get the answer to that on Apple Watch. Oh, Apple Watch just said they couldn't get the answer for me on that. All right, so let's go to the actual plan here. Well, Apple doesn't know everything. They must be listening. All right, so this is a plan we've looked at before, but I really like this scenario because I really want to hang out in the long-term care section today, because we've talked a lot about taxes, and taxes are really important. And we're going to look at taxes in this scenario as well. So what we're looking at here is we've got a 60-year-old and a 55-year-old couple. They've got about 1.5 million saved for retirement. And I want to show you why $1.5 million in a long-term care situation is not enough, and why we need to have a plan for the long-term care. Okay, so let's review the scenario. Let's go through some of the key points. Let's go through why it's important to look at this, and then we'll go through the long-term care and we'll look at the solutions, okay? So first of all, here's our income. We've got John and Cindy. John's a pilot. He makes about $15,000 per month. Cindy's a homemaker. Her salary is zero. She raised the kids. She did homeschooling, which is a lot more work than John does as a pilot. My wife homeschools our 3 children. God bless her. I could not do that. Okay. We're going to retire at 62 years old. So we're going to go full retirement at 62. We've just got Cindy as retired since she's not bringing in a salary in the sense of FICA and stuff like that. But in reality, she's still working. We're going to do at 62, or in the year 2025, which would be 57 for her. We're going to call it quits for both of them. Now, Social Security, we've got John's primary benefit at 67. He's going to get $2,800 a month. That's his full retirement age. Cindy's going to get a spousal benefit at 67, which is $1,430. Now, the reason we're doing a spousal benefit for Cindy is because she didn't earn enough credits. Like, she's got enough credits for Social Security, which is pretty easy to earn. I think all you got to do is get $1,500 a quarter for 10 quarters and you're there. But in her case, she hasn't earned enough money to take Social Security off of her Social Security. So we're going to do a spousal benefit. So what a spousal benefit is, when John turns 67, he's going to turn on his Social Security at $2,860. When Cindy turns 67, she can get up to half of John's full retirement benefit. So she can get half of John's $2,860. Okay. She can't get his 70 benefit, but she can get his 67. Now, when John passes away, okay, then she can get his full benefit, which would be a widow benefit. So if we waited till 70, she could get the widow benefit of the 70. But we're just going to do the John and Cindy, the $2,860 versus the $1,430. Okay. Pension benefits, no pension benefits at this point. Okay. Pensions, only pensions we got is Social Security. Now, here we go from an asset standpoint. So what we've done in this plan, we've taken some money out of the bank and we've put that into the market, and John's adding $5,000 to that per month. So for the next 2 years, we're going to add $120,000 into what I call a freedom fund. And a freedom fund is really important because that money gives you the freedom to do whatever you want. If you want to retire early at 50, 55, 58, it gives you the freedom, the ability to do that. So John's doing that. He's taking some money out of the bank and he's going to repurpose it into a freedom fund, a taxable brokerage account. We're going to invest that for him. We're an SEC registered firm. We're going to invest that for him. He's going to try to grow that as much as possible between now and retirement. He's got a 401k worth about $1.3 million, of which we have a monthly contribution of $3,404 going into it. That's his contribution plus the company contribution. It's all traditional, so it's all pre-tax. We've got a joint brokerage account of $25,000, of which they own some stock, Tesla, Apple, things like that. We've got some money in the bank, $25,000, and we're doing some Roth conversions. We've talked about Roth conversion planning. 2 weeks ago, we did a live stream talking about the Roth conversions in this strategy. Go back to that if you want to see those, but we're going to do some Roth conversions to save on taxes in the future. Okay. So there's where we got our assets. We've got about $650,000 in a home. It's paid off. They live in South Florida in a more expensive area of Florida. So they've got a house that's worth $650,000 and that is paid off. Now, risk classification. We've got 98% of our money in the market or at market risk, meaning fluctuations in the market will adjust this money. There'll be fluctuations up and fluctuations down. And we've got about 1.65% low risk. That's the bank money. Tax-wise, 91% is qualified, meaning it's pre-tax. So when you move money out of that, it's a pre-tax investment, you're going to pay taxes on it at ordinary income. The strategy we're looking at that we're going to show you is doing Roth conversions, okay? And that's why when we talk legacy, meaning when both of them are gone, look at this. We've got $1.1 million. It's all Roth. 100%, $1.1 million tax-free going to their kids. And it's really important. Listen, guys, we have a very low tax code for the next 2 years. It is really important for you to be thinking critically about Roth conversions and getting as much money tax-free as you possibly can. Because if Congress doesn't do anything, which they won't, then the tax code will revert. The standard deduction will be halved. The estate exemption will go from where it's at today to $5 million. So you might be saying, I don't have a big enough estate for estate taxes right now. But if it goes to 5, or if it goes to 1 million, like it was when I first got into the business, many of you, if you add up houses, cars, your estate's going to be over that. So you want to start doing Roth conversion, tax-free planning, whether that's Roth conversions, whether that's using a LIRP, which they call a life insurance retirement plan, whatever. Trying to get as much tax-free right now is very, very important because taxes are going to go up. All right, so let's go back to the scenario. I'll get off my high horse there for a second. Now, portfolio weighted average, this portfolio is going to earn about 5.92%. Now, what we've done in this scenario, so John's a really conservative guy. We're going to earn 6% on our investments, except for the bank. But once we get to 2033, which is 70, we're going to earn 4%. We're going to really downshift the risk. Now, the 6% is 2% behind the market's long-term average. So I feel like that's pretty conservative already. We're going to make it even more conservative once he gets to 70. Okay. Now, from an expense standpoint, our monthly expenses are $7,000. Now, let me show you how we break these down to make it really simple. We've got baseline expenses of $6,000. That's taxes, that's food, that's everything that John is going to need to live. Okay, baseline. And then we have fun, about $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month. Why I split these up is because fun's going to end in 2043. So I wanted to stop it because it's ending. I don't want to have that $1,000 doing compound interest forever, because we're going to stop. In the year 2043, what is it, 2023 now? 20 years from now, they'll be 80. They might not be hopping on a plane to Paris, right? I hope they are, but they might not be. So that's why we're going to stop that in the projections. Taxes, this is where you're seeing where we're doing the Roth conversions. There's our qualified contribution. There's our Roth conversion, okay? So it does put us in that 33% tax bracket. Projected federal tax rate's 21%. 2024, still in that 21% federal tax rate, effective rate, right? Our bracket is 33%. We have a progressive tax code. So from $0 to $22,000, it's 15%, right? 0. 22 to 89.4, it's the 18, and 89 to 190, we're in the 33. So that's where we're looking from a tax standpoint. So what we're trying to do here, let me go back here. Hold on for a second. Back up for a second. That's not right. Let me go to 0. Reset. I'm sorry. That was from the previous live stream. I increased taxes. I'm like, wait a second. All right, 2023. See, live stream, you make mistakes. If I was recording this, I would have paused the camera, gone back, fixed it, hit record again, and gone. All right, let's look at taxes here for a second. So these are our current tax rates. What we're showing is an increase in taxes in the year 2026. So if we put the Obama era tax code in, which is a 25% increase in 2026, what we're trying to do for the next 2 years is remember, we have a progressive tax code. So we're trying to get as much tax-free while we're in a low tax bracket. Okay, so we're in the 14.25 now. In 2024, again, effective 14.25. 2026, that's where we kind of kick in. Still pretty low, but that's a lot of that's because we're doing taxable withdrawals. Let's go to 20. Let's go to 2040 real quick. That's better. Still pretty low, and a lot of that's because the money that we're taking out, taxable Social Security, money we're taking out is not taxable. And I'll show you this on the retirement side. If you look down, let's go to age 90 here. We have the Roth, we have the 401k, but see how the Roth conversion accounts had $1 million? Still got a lot of money in the Roth account. So what we're trying to do, we can't do the whole gamut. So at 62 and 57 when they retire, we've got like $1.8 million saved for retirement. I can't get everything Roth because it's just going to kill them in taxes. The thing we got to look at, we're going to try to do conversions again while taxes are low. There's our conversion. But in the year 2026, we're still doing the conversions on the plan. But I don't know what taxes are going to be. I read an article today in Barron's, I think it was Barron's, talking about how to plan for taxes. And no one, the only thing we can plan for is that nothing's going to happen in the sense of Congress is not going to pass new tax laws. Republicans hold the House, Democrats hold the Senate, the Democrats hold the executive branch. So there's probably not going to be any tax legislation that's going to happen. So we're probably going to revert back to the Obama era taxes. And so what we've got to plan for is saying, okay, in this year right here, 2026, do we want to do the conversion? Is it going to make sense tax-wise? I don't know at this point. We want to put it in the plan. We want to increase taxes in the plan, which we do. The taxes increase near 2026, but we just don't know. Okay, so let's get off of Roth conversions because that's not necessarily the point of this video. So here we go. Taking Social Security at 67 for John. Cindy takes Social Security at 67, which is our spousal benefit. And basically, we live a very happy life, and we die at 105 and 100 with $1.5 million in our Roth conversion account and a $100 million house. So the kids get $2.5 million, of which $1.5 million is completely tax-free. Okay. Rainbows, unicorns, and puppies. in Star Wars. That's what we're looking at in that scenario. Okay. But let's look at a healthcare situation. What if we need healthcare? Now, what I love about this program is that we can look at two different analyses. We can look for John, we can look at Cindy, we can look at what the cost is going to be. We can input these different numbers based on states. And again, if you want an EKG, go to our website, pearlwealthgroup.com. You can download a free booklet there and also request. I've also put it in the comment section. Click the link, download the booklet, request time to talk. So if they lived in Texas, if they lived in Iowa, if they lived in Montana, they lived in Maine, West Virginia, Kentucky, wherever, we can add those states in. Okay. So what we're looking at is today, this is the current year, 2023. Current age is 60. The year we're going to take long-term care, 2043 at 80. So the future monthly cost, $18,235. How's that going to affect their plan? Remember, I showed you that in the Genworth, the cost for care. We're pretty close. $17,853. That's Tampa. They're in Fort Myers, which is south of us. So we're pretty close. There's in-home care, community assisted living, nursing home. Okay. So what we're looking at, again, here's everything we're doing. There's the Roth transfers. There's our assets. Here's our care. So we're assuming long-term care for John at 80. So we need this money on a monthly basis to take care of him. Okay. John gets Parkinson's. John gets Alzheimer's. John gets something that we need long-term care on. I don't know. 4 years. And then basically for Cindy, at 88 years old, we're out of spendable assets. Now, we still have the house, which we can do a reverse mortgage on, or we can sell it. And hopefully, listen, the average length of time in care is 18 months. So let's just say 2 years. Let's round it up. So I'm looking at 4 years. Again, you know me, if you've watched the channel enough, that I'm the worst case scenario guy. In life, I'm pretty optimistic, okay? Kentucky's going to get into the NCAA tournament. I am optimistic on that. The Rays will win the World Series this year. But when we're planning and we're doing projections for retirement, because here's the thing, guys, think about this. John's 80, Cindy's 75. Do we want to go back to work? I don't want to make a mistake in this time of life, because if we do, it's hard to make it up. It's hard to go back out to work, right? At 37, I got a lot of time to work. I got a lot of time to save. So if my wife and I made a mistake, if there was a tragedy in our life, we have a lot of time to make that up. But 80, 75, not a lot of time. So when we're looking at long-term care, I want to plan this out and see how this is going to affect our overall strategy. See, they're out of money at 88. Cindy is by herself. John's gone. We lost the Social Security. Our assets are down. We got our house. Look, remember, go back to the regular plan. Look, rainbows and unicorns at $1 million. We got $1.5 million at 100 and 105, and it's all Roth IRA, which is great. Okay. Which means the kids are happy. The 3 boys are happy at this point. No, I mean, I'm not happy that mom and dad are gone. 100 and 105, they've got a lot of time with them, but they're happy that they did this planning because now they got tax-free money. But what we got to look at is what happens if we need care. Now we're out of money at 88, and that's Cindy. And I can't tell you how many times I run into this where I have a spouse call me. The husband's deceased, the wife's deceased. They spent a lot of money on care, and we've got to figure out a plan to make their money last for the rest of their life. And I don't like doing those plans. I mean, I want to help those people. I love doing those plans in the sense of helping them. But I don't have pixie dust. That's down the road in Orlando at Disney World. So we've got to have a plan from the onset, because you can see, again, 88. Now, what happens if John, and what we can do is always finagle the numbers, because everybody always wants to say, oh, Drew, I'm not going to live that long. I'm not going to need long-term care. I'm going to die. This is a Barron's article. I love Barron's, Wall Street Journal Barron's. If you guys don't have subscriptions, you should get them. It's not a plug for me. I don't get a kickback from them. But this is the article they had in the recent magazine. It said, expect to live a long time, ? Plan for rising healthcare costs. Listen, People always tell me, they put it in the comments on YouTube all the time. And I love it because they say this. They go, Drew, you don't know what you're talking about. My dad died at 84. My mom died at 79. I'm going to be gone in my late 70s, early 80s. Mortality tables say you're going to live to 84 and 86 right now. Female 86, male 84. It backed up a year actually because of COVID. Okay. I don't know if we're going to have another pandemic. But what I would say to that is think about 20 years ago what healthcare was like. I had chicken pox when I was growing up. I don't know if any of you had chicken pox growing up. I had chicken pox on Halloween. That sucked because I couldn't go trick or treat. I literally remember, I don't remember how old I was, taking an oatmeal bath, listening to the doorbell ring because people were coming for candy, getting in my pajamas and watching kids come to the door. Now, obviously, I was young. My parents made the Halloween special, even though I had chicken pox. But today I have 3 children. And they have a chickenpox vaccine. Now, I don't want to get into vaccines here, okay? I'm not that kind of person. But they're not going to get chickenpox. The cancer that took my grandfather's life in the 80s, they can treat that today, 30 years. So if you're 50, 60, and you're thinking, oh, my dad and my mom died in their 70s. My dad and my mom died in their 80s. What was healthcare like when they passed? What's your healthcare going to be like today? What's your healthcare going to be like then? What can they cure? Whatever that might be. Do you eat better than they did? Do you exercise more? Because we know now that we should exercise and eat and drink water and do all the right things. You might be in better shape. I'm in a lot better shape today than I would say my dad was in his 30s. Don't tell him I said that. Hopefully he's not watching. But I understand the benefits of lifting weights, exercising, eating right, drinking water, right? Doing all the things that are good for you. So we got to have a plan because we're going to live a long time, right? What's the old saying? Good Lord wills or the creek doesn't rise. We're going to live a long time. So we need to have a plan. So let's look at this plan. All right. Where are we at here? Okay. So let's look at this scenario. So everything's staying the same in this scenario. The difference is going to be how we're going to solve this issue for them. John says this, working for a large upscale hotel, I'd say a good percentage of our clientele on non-business trips is 70 plus. Yeah, I mean, I live in Florida, John. I don't know what state, John, what state are you in? I'm in Florida. Listen, my neighbor, his name's Don. I love Don. Don's from Maryland. He lived in California for a long time. He's 85 years old. Don's in like super great shape. Walks his dog. I mean, the guy's outside doing stuff all the time. I want to be Don. Great. He had COVID. Didn't even know he had COVID. He got something else. He was fine. That's what I want to be. So again, healthcare's changing. So here we go. How are we going to solve this? Because we're still looking at what are we going to do with the long-term care? We're going to get it at, we're going to need care at 80. So let's go to assets for a minute and let me show you what we're doing to solve this. A lot of the stuff is staying the same. We're repurposing the bank money. The 401k is still the same. The brokerage account's still the same. The bank account's still the same. We're still doing the Roth conversions because that's important. We still want to do the Roth conversions. Our asset for our house is still the same. So what has changed? Well, what we're going to do, which is a little different, is we're going to take the $5,000 that John was putting into his brokerage account. Okay, so we were repurposing money and putting it into here. We took money out of the bank. He was putting $5,000 a month in the bank. Instead of putting it in the bank for the next 2 years, we're going to buy a life insurance policy. Now, before you turn me off, I'm not trying to sell you a life insurance policy. I just want to show you how we're solving this long-term care situation. So we're going to do a $5,000 a month into a life insurance policy. It's going to give him a death benefit of $425,971. We're only doing it for 2 years. We're doing it for 2 years. Okay? What we're trying to accomplish is twofold. One, if John passes away, we've got some tax-free money going to Cindy. Or 2, if John needs care, depending on where we get the money for care from, we can either use the death benefit of the life insurance for care if we want to, because you can do that. Or that's going to supplement, which I like better. That death benefit's going to supplement the money that we've lost because we've paid for care. So go back to the retirement plan here. Again, everything stays the same. The difference is now, I think, am I killing him off? Oh, here we go. The difference now is at 105 and 100, we have $400,000 left. We're not putting the 120 in the market. So remember at the other scenario, and I'll put them side by side for you here in just a second so you can see it. We had about $1 million. That's because we repurposed money. At this point, we're not. We're using it for the life insurance. And what this scenario is not showing, this is rainbows and unicorns again. Remember, at 105 and 100, they're both going, right? They're both out. We're not showing any kind of anybody passing away. Okay. But let's go to long-term care. So remember, it's the year 2023. We're going to look for care in 2043 at the age of 80. Okay. So now here's that care that we've paid for. John passes away. Okay. We have an influx of $400,000. Okay. It's basically $425. What it's doing, it's taking out the cost for the funeral home and that kind of stuff, which is $21,000. The plan's cutting that out. So we're getting about $400,000 net tax-free. And what that's doing, again, we're out at 85, but what we've essentially done is we've fluctuated some more money in here so that we can use it if we need to sell the house, reverse mortgage, whatever. This is not a plan where I'm concerned about them. What I'm trying to do is offer a solution for where they're at. Okay. Now, hopefully the goal, again, if we look at this from an 18-month standpoint, let's say 2 years of care, which would be kind of the average. So if we only need care for 2 years, that's full care, right? Pass away. Now we've pushed it to 91 for Cindy. So what we're looking at here, again, it's just worst case scenario. And it could be like Ray. Ray said, I might want to kind of roll the dice on this. What I really hope for both of them, okay, is that neither one of them need care. Listen, I've been doing this for 15 years. Most of my clients, 9 times out of 10, my clients need some sort of informal care, which means the husband takes care of the wife, or the wife takes care of the husband, or the girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, partner, whatever, takes care of the other person. It's not a situation where it's a nursing home full time. I think I've had maybe 10 people in a nursing home or assisted living facility. Most people have the informal care, which is much less in cost. What I'm just trying to help solve is if we do have a long-term care situation, what are we going to do to help take care of that? Okay. How can we help supplement that? Again, we're trying to put the worst case scenario in the plan and then try to help, again, have the money last as long as we possibly can. Okay. So that's really what we're looking at here. Let's put these reports together real quick so we can see them. All right. Let's see. Where is that one at? Current health care. Here we go. So here's the difference when you think about it, not using any care. So the current scenario, doing the Roth conversions, repurposing bank money, doing the healthcare and the life insurance, at 105 and 100, we've got $400,000 left at the end, plus a $400,000 life insurance policy, right? So about $700,000 tax-free, plus the house, okay? Current scenario, doing the Roth conversions, repurposing the bank with the healthcare and not doing the life insurance, we got $1.5 million plus the house, okay? We haven't done long-term care in this. I can't show those two side by side. It doesn't let me do that. This is just saying this is helping solve a long-term care issue. This is what we'd have if we had rainbows and unicorns. This is not solving it or just not, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Again, addressing it, not addressing it. We can't do it, whatever. And this is what it looks like. So again, it comes back to kind of what Ray said, in the sense of rolling the dice. I like what he said. I just want to put this back up here, Ray. Just rolling the dice later in life. It's saying, do we want to try to solve this or do we not? And how does that make us feel? Because I'm just here to help guide and say, hey, this is things that we can do. It doesn't mean we're going to always do that. When we look at the Roth conversions, I might say, this makes sense. And you might say, I don't want to pay those taxes. And I'll say, okay, we can just see what's going to happen later down the road. There's nothing wrong with that. We're just trying to look at all the different avenues and say, okay, these are the solutions that would help us with those different concerns. Okay? Questions? Comments? Sarcastic comments? If you didn't see at the beginning, let me show you this. This is, a lot of people didn't join at the beginning. I started this a little early today, but I want you to see this. John said Tennessee. Tennessee, that's a low-cost state, John. Here's a cost of care survey. So if you want to see, let's do Tennessee. You're the only 10 I see. Are you from Tennessee? That's an old joke. That's bad. That was a bad joke. So 2021 to 2041, let's say 20 years. In-home care, $4,500 a day, $8,200 in 2041. Nursing home, $7,100, $12,900. Private room, $7,600 a day, $13,800 in the future. So we just want to be aware. So if you, whatever state you live in, Google Genworth cost of care survey, you can find this and you can put in your state and you can actually take it down to like the zip code. Let's see. I used to live in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I still remember my zip code from when I grew up. 42701. So Elizabethtown, Kentucky. All right. So let's look at that. It's not where I live now, so don't come find me there. I'm in Florida. So here's the care. You can actually break it down by zip code, and it'll show you this, what it would cost for care. And what I love about the Financial EKG is it actually puts that in there. So you can see kind of comparison. Look at this. There it is. And here's the same thing. Now, obviously, this is Florida versus Kentucky, but we can actually look at that together. And if you want an EKG, go to Pearl Wealth Group, get in contact with us, download the free download, and we'd be glad to help you. So this is good. This is how you can do that. Matthew says, good job covering expenses. Matt, I think it's important. I think we really got to take a close look at expenses because this is something that's not fun. I prefer the videos that I did on Monday talking about how to protect your retirement savings from a market crash, talking about call options and buying puts and doing things like that. That's a lot more fun. This is something we got to talk about. It's just not necessarily the most fun. Okay. Let's do one more state, and I'm going to hang on for questions for about another 5 minutes. Let's do one more state. Let's see who calls me. I get Texas. I did Texas. We did California. I do Florida. Those, I get a lot of calls from those states. How about Ray? You're in Illinois. Let's do Illinois. All right. Here's Illinois. So if you're in Illinois and you need in-home care, the 2041 cost, so 20 years from now, $9,600. A nursing home, $11,317 is a semi-private room. Private room is $12,925. Now, keep in mind, too, I showed you this, and you might have missed this because we got a lot more people coming on now, and it's getting closer to lunch at the Eastern time zone. $3,000 a week, the enormous cost of care for elderly loved ones that no one warns you about. This is February 3rd, 2023. So this is not like this is an article from like 10 years ago. This is today, February 3rd. Not February, I'm not today, but today. What will Medicare cover? Many people think Medicare will cover these expenses, but that's a misunderstanding. Medicare only covers limited stays in nursing facilities for acute needs. Acute. Doesn't cover full-time care, only visiting nurse services like a wound care. So you got to understand, Medicare is not going to cover your long-term care. That's why you need a plan. I'm not telling you to buy insurance. Insurance might be your plan. We would need to look at that. But what I'm telling you is we just want to have a plan. We want to earmark some assets and say this asset is earmarked for long-term care should I need it. Fast Eddie says this, that's why you need to be debt-free and have the mortgage paid off. So true. So true. Because one of the options, think about this. Here's an option. Fast Eddie brought this up. Let's go to retirement real quick. Or let's go to this plan. What I've had clients do, they got an $800,000 house. If they're still living there, this is debt free. They can do a reverse mortgage. Okay. And they can pull cash out of their house. Now, I'm not out here promoting reverse mortgages. I'm just telling you, being debt free, like Fast Eddie said, having the mortgage paid off would give them an option to pull cash out. Okay. It's tax free. Now, again, kids don't get the house and things like that. We have to work through all that. But that would leave maybe these assets alone. Because here's the worst thing too, guys. We've got this 401k. Now, we did the Roth conversions. You see that where we've done the Roth conversions. But you see this 401k right here? John's over the age of 73 at this point. He's 75 is what the new Secure Access for RMD. He's got to use this for his care. He's going to be pulling out money that's taxable to pay for care. So it's going to cause their taxes to go up. So there's things that we need to do. We just need to look at. What I'm trying to do today is not necessarily say this is the solution that you need to take. What I'm trying to do today is say you just need to start thinking about it. I get a lot of calls on people. They call me and say, hey, I want to do a financial EKG. I want to know, can I retire at 55? Can I retire at 58? Can we retire at 62? Do we have enough? And one of the questions that we ask, what's your plan for long-term care? It's on my sheet. I'm old school. I use a notepad. What's your plan for long-term care? We want to think about those expenses. Again, I'm not trying to sell you insurance. I'm not trying to sell you a long-term care plan. I'm just saying, hey, what are we going to do? Are we going to say it's going to be the house? Is it going to be the rental properties? A lot of clients I have rental properties, and they may say, hey, I'm going to sell my rental properties later in life. That's what I'm going to earmark for my care. Or they might say, hey, I've got this large stock that I got as an RSU or whatever. That's what I'm going to use for care. We just want to have a plan for the care because we don't want to be in a nursing home facility, right? We're looking at it now. We're looking at the long-term care scenario in the EKG in Florida in the year 24 to 3 at 80. We're doing 2 years of care. We're influxing some life insurance in, but Cindy's still out at 91. We got a $940,000 house, but we're out of spendable assets. So again, I'm just looking at worst case scenarios. Like, what are we going to do? Okay, cool. All right. I'll hang on for about 60 more seconds. If anybody has questions, concerns, sarcastic comments. Most of the sarcastic comments come late in the night. You should see what I wake up to at like 5 a.m. comment section on YouTube. It's pretty funny. And if you leave a nasty comment, I never respond anyway. Because you know what? I'm not pizza. I had someone say one time, it was a pastor. He said, listen, I'm not pizza. What do you mean? And not everybody's going to like me. So it is what it is. Cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for hanging around for the live stream. It is time for a turkey sandwich and some lunch here on the East Coast. Thank you, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.